Hello guys and welcome to my new video. Today we're gonna talk about the governor's elections, the gubernatorial elections next year in 2026, the midterm election. This was the map of the last gubernatorial elections, basically the 2022 midterm election. That was the unexpected Republican underperformance during the election, and now we're gonna fill the Democratic likely seats. So that will be California. That will also be Colorado, also be, of course, Illinois, and all of those, except from Vermont and New Hampshire. Vermont is a very curious, interesting thing because Republicans are probably going to win if Phil Scott stays in the race. Because Phil Scott is a very popular governor. You can just check here. He got 71% in last election. Not in last because Vermont is each 2 years, so and also New Hampshire, I think. So it's probably I think he got more than that. I think he got 77% or something. He even won Burlington, which is a very interesting situation. Democrats only getting 24%, which this is a very democratic state in presidential elections, but in gubernatorial races, actually Phil Scott did a pretty great job. Here in New Hampshire, I think the Republicans are gonna hold. It's not Chris Sununu anymore. I don't know her name. I think it's a her, but I don't know her name. I'm sorry. But I think they're going to hold in a likely margin as well. Not probably like by 10 points or something. So, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, all of them are going to stay. These two are two flips. Lori Hogan in Maryland, and I'm not so sure about Massachusetts at this point. But those were flips, and those are going to stay Democratic, of course. Then, for Republican side, we're going to say Wyoming, Idaho, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas as well, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, also South Carolina, and probably Alaska. And it's a very interesting thing here is that, for example, you see here in Florida, I think they are going to win. The Republican candidate is going to win. I don't know if they have term limits in Florida, if Ron DeSantis can have a run again. I'm not so sure if that is true. But if he can, he will get like this one, 20 points basically. He got this in Florida, which was a very surprising result, especially right here in Miami-Dade with Latino men, especially Latino men, not only Latino men, but especially Latino men. The Republicans did very well, and actually they won in Palm Beach County. This is the first one. The biggest is Miami-Dade, and you go to Broward County, which is Fort Lauderdale, and then you have Palm Beach County, which is of course West Palm Beach City. Then he won as well in Tampa, Hillsborough County, and in St. Pete, which is Pinellas County. And that was just a part of how strong DeSantis is as a figure in Florida. And that's a very important part here. And then you have Georgia. Brian Kemp, I don't know if he can run again. If it is Brian Kemp or someone he supports, probably he's going to win. Because Brian Kemp is one of the strongest Republicans in Georgia as well. Because look at Cobb County, for example. He just lost by about 4 points. Trump lost here by about, I think, was 18 or something. So he's very strong in the suburbs. Harris got 72.5, I think. Stacey Abrams got 69. You go to the Cobb, I think Harris got 84, 83, 81. You go to Clayton, Harris got 80. I don't know. I think Harris got less than that. So actually, that was a great performance. So, but basically, Brian Kemp is a very strong governor. So I would say that Georgia is going to stay something like right here. It's a lean Republican state, not a huge win, but it's going to be a win. Ohio, I think it's Mike DeWine, I think he cannot run again. I think he cannot run again because Vivek Ramaswamy wants to run to be the next governor of Ohio. I think it's governor. So the Republicans are of course going to win Ohio. Not probably like this, but probably by a likely margin. Not a very likely margin, as you would say. Kansas is a very interesting situation. Let me just mark out why I forget about Ohio. Why, I'm sorry. Kansas is a very interesting result. Laura Kelly won here, as you can see, by just shy of 2.2 points advantage, 22,000 votes. But I think the Republicans are going to pick up this seat because this is Kansas. Kansas is a very Republican state. But she did very well here, around Kansas City, Kansas, not Kansas City, Missouri, that's the other part. Laura Kelly won here by 20 points. she won here by about 53 points in Lawrence, which is Douglas County. And then you go to Topeka, which is Shawnee County, or how do you say that? 22 points here. So this was the part why she won the race in Kansas. Will she win again? Win again? I don't know if she can run again. So that is a very important question. I don't think if they have term limits. That's another curious thing about the U.S. They have a lot of states with different rules, and sometimes some states have term limits, others don't have, so that's a very interesting result. But I think Kansas will fall into Republican side this time. That will be a pickup for the Republican Party there. Then you go to New York. I didn't select New York because I think New York is going to be competitive, just like it's Georgia and Kansas. You can see here, Governor Kathy Hochul, which she replaced. She replaced Andrew Cuomo when he basically resigned as governor. She just won by only 6 points, and 6.4 points, and that was just amazing because the Republicans did very well there, especially down here. Look at this is the Bronx. I'm sorry, the Queens. Queens is here, and then you have the Republicans getting 37% in Queens. Then you go to Brooklyn, 29, Manhattan, as 18, and in Bronx you have 22. And of course you go to these places. This is Suffolk County, a very important county for any Republican to run up the margins. You see here 17 points and almost 100,000 votes in margin. And that was part of why Lee Zeldin was a very great candidate. And also the Republicans did very well in the House seats that year in New York. And I think New York is going to stay blue, of course, but it's not by the margin probably the Democratic Party wanted. Then you go to Maine. Maine is a Democratic seat, probably a likely margin, I would say. And then you go to places like Oregon, which was a very competitive race actually in 2022. You see here only about 3.5 points. And every time you go to Oregon, it's their one county, which is Multnomah County, Portland, and Grissom, which is just right here. This is where the magic does. 190,000 votes in margin. You see here, 66,000. So without this, the Democratic candidate would have lost. And the most important part here in this county is really the margin and the turnout. The turnout is very important. Can the Republicans win New Jersey? I don't think so. This was a very interesting result, but I don't think this will repeat this time. So I think this will stay like a likely margin in Oregon. Then you have Nevada. Nevada, I think it will stay Republican. Why? Because Nevada is starting to be more Republican than Democrat in the last few years. Trump won here by 3 points or something. I think it was for 3 points. And he almost won Las Vegas, which is Clark County. Not Las Vegas, but the county, Clark County as well. And this is Washoe County, kind of the bellwether county in Nevada. I know you're seeing here Steve Slozlak, or how I pronounce this name. He won in Washoe County, Reno, but he lost the state. That is a very competitive county because apart from Reno and Las Vegas, the other ones are like this: 66, 74, 87, 76, 73. So it's very Republican territory apart from Las Vegas and Reno. And the Republicans really need to run up the margin in Las Vegas, like 11 points. You need to get 11 points of margin, 10 to 11. I think it's the margin the Democrats won here in Las Vegas. They only won by 6. That's why they lost the state. And particularly, that's a very interesting state, but I think it will ultimately fall into Republican hands. Unfortunately for the Democrats, of course, because Nevada, because of the Latino population, is starting to be more right, and Nevada has lots of Latino population, so that is the reason. Katie Hobbs against Carrie Lake, that was in 2022. There's a very important question here. And there's a big if Carrie Lake is again the nominee of the Republican Party in Arizona, the Democrats are going to win. If not, the Republicans have a chance. But I'm going to say the Democrats are going to win Arizona by a tight margin. Because, see, Carrie Lake is a terrible nominee. I don't have anything against her, but she's a terrible nominee. Trump won Arizona by 5 points, or 4.5 points. And she lost Arizona by, I think, 2 points in the Senate election last year. Carrie Lake is a terrible, terrible candidate. I mean, I don't know what the Republicans are doing in Arizona. I know Trump supported her, but that's the question why the Republicans don't have a bigger majority or don't have the seat in the Senate. It's because of her. Because she's a terrible candidate, and I don't have anything against her, but I'm just saying that's a fact. She's losing election after election. The Republicans are getting screwed because of that. So I think they should do something there. So New Mexico probably turning to be more Republican as well because of all the Latino population here in the South. But I think it will ultimately fall into Democratic hands, probably like this, in a lean margin, same as New York. Probably the margin will be the same, like 6 points or something. Then you go to this, the Middle East. Let's start with Iowa. Iowa will go, of course, Republicans. Nothing to worry about there. It's a likely margin as well. Then you go to the 4. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. You love the 4. Minnesota, Tim Walz is a very unpopular figure, I think, nationwide. But statewide, he's not so bad. So he's probably going to win. And Minnesota is a Democratic state nonetheless. So probably he's going to win by a lean margin, same as New York, like 6 points. He won here that was 8, but I think he's going to win by a smaller margin than that. Then you see Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I will leave Wisconsin to the finish because it's one of the most interesting races in 2026. Then you see Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro won against Doug Mastriano. Again, same thing. Trump supported him in a primary. What was the result? This thing. He lost overwhelmingly. Even lost Luzerne County, which is, we go outside of Trenton where Biden was born, and you go to this place. This is more Republican territory. Trump won here by about 20 points, I think, or 18 points, something like that. And he lost Berks County, which is Reading. This is just when you go, this is Philadelphia, then you go outside of Philadelphia, you have Bucks, Montgomery, and Chester County, and then you go out, and this used to be farm country, not anymore. This is now a very competitive territory as well. Then you go to Allentown, Lehigh County. Trump lost here by 2 points. Josh Shapiro won by almost 20, and that was a part of the story. He's a very weak candidate in a general election. So I would say if there's another candidate, Josh Shapiro might be a tough opponent to fight because Josh Shapiro is has a very great approval rating in Pennsylvania. So I think he's going to win by probably this margin, which is not like 10 points, almost 10 points. Not like 15 like it was before, but 10 points I think it will be enough. This is a very interesting election. The governor of Michigan, she's probably going to win again by the same, by a very good margin, just like Pennsylvania, like 10 points or something. She won here by 10.6 points. I think she's going to win again by somewhere in the ballpark of 10. Wisconsin should be a great state for the Democrats, but Tony Evers declared that he's not going to run next year for re-election. So this might be an open seat. I would give this a Democratic win, yes, but just barely, because this is not as easy as it was before because of Tony Evers, the incumbent governor, not running for re-election. What is most interesting about Wisconsin is you need to try to get the margins. Milwaukee County needs to be at least 70% for the Democrats. Look at that, 70%. And then County at least 75%. Look at this, 79%. So those are the targets the Democrats really need to get in those two places. Then you go to the bow and the wow. This is the wow. The wow is right here. The bow is right here. The wow is Waukesha, of course, the first wow county. Then you go to Washington, and then you have Ozaukee. Those are the 3 counties. They need to get a huge margin to the Republican Party in those 3 counties, just outside of Milwaukee. Then you also have Kenosha County right here. This should be a Republican win by like 5, 6, 7 points. He only won by 1.3. That's why he lost the state overall. Then you go to Green Bay and this part. You have Brome County. You have Outagamie. And you have Winnebago. Those are the bow counties. Then you have the Republicans need to run up the margins here. Here, Trump won against Biden by 8 points. Trump lost the state by 20,000 votes in 2020. The Republican candidate only won by 4 points. And that's why the reason he lost the state overall. And also that there's nothing to tell. You have 2 bellwether counties. Not 2 bellwether counties anymore, but you have 1 bellwether county. I think it's Sauk County and Door County. Those used to be 2 bellwether counties in the state, not anymore, because I think Kamala won in those 2, and she lost the state, of course, by 20,000 votes again. But Wisconsin is a very interesting state, and we'll see who's going to win in this race. It's going to be one of the most competitive races in 2026. We'll see if the Republicans could actually pick up this seat. That will be very interesting, considering they are in the presidency, and that gives an advantage to the Democrats overall. But we'll see. That's going to be a very interesting result. This is the final map, as you can see. Basically, you have 19 wins for the Republicans and 17 wins for the Democrats. And we'll see who's going to have the most gubernatorial races next year. And if this map, this prediction would be correct 1 year from now. 1.5 years from now almost. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.